This is the Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. And I'm going to tell you a little something about how to figure out the symbols involved. And what you need to know right away is that this is painted in 3 pieces and that those 2 panels at the side will fold in. And once you fold them in, this is what you get. This is a symbol of God and a symbol of the earth. The artist has added the inscription, "For he spoke, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast." The inscription is also a symbol. So we're going to start by explaining how symbols work by using an Ouroboros. This is an Ouroboros. Is it a snake devouring its own tail, or is it a magical dragon vomiting itself into existence? Classically, this is a symbol of reincarnation, that this is a positive sign of life following death, death following life, and the same life reoccurring over and over. But it's a remarkably versatile symbol. We're going to apply the scripture from Hieronymus Bosch and a few other ideas to the symbol. If you think of the snake's head as the part that speaks rather than the part that destroys, then you could say, he is speaking and it's done. He commands and it stands fast. So he's speaking, he's commanding, and he's causing everything to come into being. As when God said, "Let there be light" in Genesis. "Let us make man." As the Bible talks about, "I am the Alpha and the Omega." You could look at this symbol and easily read that into it. He is the beginning and end of things. In the beginning was the Word. Again, there's the talking head, as it were, the Word, the part that speaks. The Word became flesh, and so he spoke and came into existence. This flesh appears. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Well, there you go. He loves himself. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. I think you can see that. He not busy being born is busy dying. That's not too tough to read into that. You must be born again. And that brings up the whole idea of metamorphosis. And this is actually a symbol of metamorphosis, that things change. Things go from one thing into another thing. And so that's also an underlying theme of the Garden of Earthly Delights. "It is accomplished" are the last words of Jesus as recorded in the Gospel of John. But you can see how similar it is from "For he spoke and it was done." And you can see how all this stuff can also be pretty easily read into the same symbol. Desire, greed, vanity, futility, infidelity, and also the unity, mutual protection. The interpretation of the symbol would be that the snake isn't devouring its tail, it's simply taking a defensive measure and separating the inside from the outside. It's a symbol for us against them. So we're still not finished with different definitions that can be read into this symbol. You can probably see reincarnation, the same life recurring again and again, life and death. The void, you came from nothing, you're returning to nothing. The sign for nothing is a 0, so everything about it screams the void. But also fertility, life coming from life. So you get the opposite things happening, same symbol. Incarnation, different from reincarnation, and this goes back to he spoke and it came to be sort of thing. Incarnation must be understood in the biblical sense. In Genesis, it says, "Let us make man in our image, and man and woman he made them, in the image of the heavenly family, in our image." So it can be said that humans are incarnations of God. And also, one symbol for God is the 0. Also, a symbol for God is an egg, because an egg is a place of metamorphosis. What you're supposed to take home from all of this is that one symbol can mean many things. So it depends on what the person making the symbol has in mind, and also who the symbol is intended for. You sort of need a code book. Otherwise, someone could send you a symbol of an Ouroboros and you wouldn't know what definition to put to it unless there's something about the context that told you what to do with it. Now then, we return to the world of Hieronymus Bosch, and what I want you to notice is all the various definitions that we read into the Ouroboros can also be read into the outside panels painted by Hieronymus Bosch. I'll let you work out the applications on your own, because I want to point your attention to something that I find even more astonishing. Notice that God appears on that left-hand panel. And remember, these panels open up, so that when we open up the cabinet, the altarpiece, we find the depiction of Adam and Eve behind the God panel. And Adam and Eve are going to form a composite symbol for us. Notice the cat with the dead mouse, and the bird that seems to be eating the frogs as they emerge from the pond, but just spitting them out dead afterwards, killing for killing's sake. We do see a family of rabbits behind Eve there. So this is Genesis. Jesus is in the part of the Alpha and the Omega. The Word is the title for Jesus. So in the beginning was the Word. The Word became flesh. And here's the Lord giving. And Adam and Eve, of course, will soon be dead. So even though Eve has just been created, she's also busy dying. And Jesus is looking at us saying, you must be born again. Why? Because these two brought death into the world, of course. So we see Jesus blessing the event, and so it is accomplished. Of course, we have love between Adam and Eve. We have death among all the animals. We have fertility with the rabbits. We have incarnation. Remember, let us make man in our image. So these two people are incarnations of God. And so God is definitely present, not only in the form of Jesus, but in the form of Adam and Eve. They are incarnations of God. They are in his image. These are all forms of metamorphosis, and metamorphosis is symbolized by an egg. And this brings us back to the original image of Hieronymus Bosch. And I hope now you can see it as God's egg. So the first lesson in understanding the symbols of Hieronymus Bosch is to keep an open mind. Realize that a lot of stuff can be read into these things. And the second thing to keep in mind is context. And the context tells us that this is a Bible-based painting because we see Adam, Eve, and Jesus, but 90% of the painting is not Bible-based. It's beyond the Bible. And so Bosch has given us a few clues as to what it's actually about by hiding in the dead center in plain sight in the painting the powerful symbol of metamorphosis, the egg. So metamorphosis and fertility are the main themes of the Garden of Earthly Delights. That is why this is a symbol for God's egg. This is where God plans to incarnate himself or herself. So it's more than God simply creating the world or the world as God's footstool, but this is a symbol of God's metamorphosis, or at least the Ouroboros of Hieronymus Bosch, because all of those definitions can be read into it. Anyway, we've only scratched the surface of this painting, but I hope you've learned something.